watching finals. This is the last thing he'll be watching on TV.
Yeah.
Against the Super Bowl or something like that.
The only person I know that said they ever watched this was Tom Fox.
Mhm. Well, it's scary how many people actually watch BCTV. I saw you last Monday. Why?
What's good for PC?
Yeah.
The other place they watch is Facebook.
Yes, well, and I encountered that when I participated in a council meeting for the whole downtown improvement district. And that was weird because I could see live comments and they weren't nice.
Yeah.
And that's intimidating.
Yeah, we don't count them as public comment. We just
Well, I
count them
know, but
as,
it's there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, you're giving comments and you see these live comments coming from, you know, it's not appropriate.
The county uses Teams for, like, if we were doing this meeting tonight, we would be on Teams. But for the public, it's through Facebook Live. What we have found now is there's actually about a 30-second lag
yeah,
between what we say here and what they see out there. So when you're actually doing a public comment segment, you need to remember that there's 30 seconds in there that we need to keep in mind. What are you cheating tonight?
Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
I'm okay. I had the stomach bug or flu or something on Monday. I was out all day Tuesday and a half a day today. Just took me and knocked me on my butt.
And I'm sure that county planning commission meeting didn't help, huh?
That's the
Goodness.
that's the longest county planning commission I've ever had to endure. And I had to turn my head and yawn. It was nothing to do with the commission, as I can only stand so much. It's terrible.
you could make inappropriate comments, but I won't.
Yeah. I do recommend stomach virus for weight loss. It really works. You have no appetite for anything.
Okay.
All right. So it's 6:30.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Out of 7
out of 7
is a quorum.
works for me. All right, and Lee, as far as I can tell right now, you're the only one who is on virtually with us right now.
Okay,
That's correct.
okay.
So I guess in the notion of time, we will get rolling at 6:30. Good evening, everybody. Tonight is our 4th and hopefully final meeting of this redistricting commission. As you recall, we need to have a decision to city council by March 1st. So when we left last month, there were 2 recommendations on the table. I see we've got one more joining us.
Dara.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Dara.
Hello.
All right, we just got started. When we left last month, we had 2 recommendations on the table. I'm trying to shout so the microphones can hear themselves. Bear with me. One was the combination proposal where we had 2 people that recommended the same one, which was moving precinct 5-1 from, help me out here,
From 1 to 6.
from District 1 to District 6. The second recommendation was to leave the districts the way they are and not touch them. We actually took a straw poll, and that's all it was a straw. It had no meaning. There were 4 who wanted to make the move. There were 3 who were in favor of keeping it the way it was. When we left,
Wasn't it the other way around?
Yeah, it's,
Route 5 from
District 6 to District 1.
6 to 1.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the final map.
right. When we left, everybody kind of wanted to take a month to think about it. And everybody said, well, you know what? Let's take a month, let's drive around the city. Let's look at the neighborhoods. Let's see where these boundaries actually are in real life. See if the issues kind of coincide, and we'll come back and we'll make a decision. So that's where we're at tonight. And Linda's shaking her head, so I guess I didn't miss anything. Thank you. So, discussion, and I'm going to throw it out to the commission members here. Lori, I know you had some thoughts initially, or you said you had some thoughts.
No, I just, we got kind of in the weeds with like neighborhoods and this and that. And then with the information that was given back to us from the solicitors and the experts that you two found, I really think we also need to pay attention to the numbers. And I certainly am sympathetic to people not wanting to change things just because there's cohesion just in keeping things the same. But the current maps, that standard deviation is at 542. And looking at the proposal in front of us, that comes down to 358.
Right.
Other than the ones that that we came up with and came up with that were changed a whole bunch of things. This one came closest to getting that standard deviation number down. And I think we should also keep that in mind because that number, lots of different ways to interpret our charter. So since the number equality is a big priority.
That is the driving force in any and all redistricting exercises. Is the whole point is to have that equal representation. You are correct in that the proposal before us does bring that standard deviation down. While at the same time, and this is something I was discussing as well, requiring the fewest people to change districts, which I think is also a benefit. You know, we would be moving what, one precinct? In the grand scheme of things, you really can't beat that.
I will also add that looking at the, what is this, Linda? This is the redistricting administrative code. This is part of the charter.
I think that is an explanation. Yes, that's from the administrative
So
code.
that's the administrative code, part of the charter for the city does say the last thing is, you know, we're the commission that was appointed and, you know, all the details that we've talked about up till now. But what we present to council, council has, the last thing it says is council shall, you know, has the right to adopt what we recommend, or they have the right to keep it at the status quo. So if there are issues or if people feel that the status quo is better than changing just that one district, maybe we leave that up to council to decide, since we have met and discussed and we're very close to being even. Maybe that's, you know, you throw it into their court. If it's important to them, then they can decide to keep it the way it is.
Yep.
If that's important to their districts and their whatever.
Well, the way the process will unfold is we make our presentation to council. We give them our idea for our proposal. Council holds that public hearing, after which ultimately they make a decision. So if the public has concerns, that is their time to voice them. Now, obviously, these have been all public meetings. They've all been duly advertised. We haven't heard from the public. So that would be the opportunity for council. If there's public concerns, they would be brought up. Council can act on those public concerns, or council can take our recommendation and act on it that way. But generally, by the end of this month, our work is finished. I don't want to say tonight because heaven help us, somebody throws a monkey wrench in and we decide we don't like anything, we have 2 weeks to get something figured out. So, good evening, Wayne. Next. And I want to keep, I don't want to ignore the folks who are on with us virtually. We've got Norma, the lady and Dara.
Well, I'll just throw out my opinion on this, again, it's just opinion. Our charter is to find districts that are as close to population parity as we can reasonably get, while keeping in mind, legal, the federal and state law, and also keeping community neighborhoods together and such like that. I see a big advantage in minimizing the number of people that change districts, because I think that just, it always leaves people a little unsettled when they thought they had one council member and now it's a different council member. And I could minimize even farther than the option on the table. I could minimize it even farther to get a lower standard deviation by moving a quarter of the people in the city from one district to another. And I don't think that that's an appropriate way to do it. So looking at the graphs that go with the maps, the 2 bar graphs here, the bar graph for the option where we move that one precinct is more balanced and the standard deviation is lower. I know it moves exactly based on the population numbers, 1,049 people, which is 1% of the population, 1.1% of the population. So I think that meets, in my opinion, the balance of what our charter says what our charge says we're supposed to do. I would also, just to say, I would also be comfortable with keeping the current map, although it is less population balanced. It does disrupt things less. Not that the one is disruptive, but if the commission voted to go with the no change option, I would not be opposed, but I would advocate for the one change. That's my 3 cents.
It sounded as though, and the way I read the different solicitor opinions, which you all received, yes, the law says we have to make the numbers work. However, the charter does grant us the latitude to take into account everything that we have. So as I said in my email last week, both options are on the table. Both options are very viable. Anyone else?
I was one that was sort of in favor of status quo. And then seeing the solicitors. Am I correct that they were basically saying federal says numbers, state sort of numbers, local neighborhoods? So it sounds like the emphasis appears to be on numbers.
Yes.
And unfortunately, either one of the things we talked about doesn't address the fact that District 4 is still way out there, and I don't know how that's going to fit without moving
A lot of
a
people.
lot of people.
Yeah.
And would have crossed over the boundaries of the 7th Street and River and all that stuff. I did make a drive through the area. I'm fairly familiar with District 5 and or with Precinct 5 and with 4. And then also looking at Google Maps, I did not realize how much of those districts, or those precincts rather, were commercial. Because you have to go to Franklin Street before you start seeing much in the way of residential. The only not objection, but the only thing that I see now I could go along with moving the fifth precinct into District 1, but it leaves the fourth precinct is sort of like an island of it, of its own there. You're separated from some of the other south end precincts. It looks a little weird, but when you look at it, like I did on Google Maps, there aren't that many households that appear to be affected. So it must be a lot of family households, a lot of apartments as opposed to some of the other districts. I would not have a problem with moving precinct 5 down to 1, get the numbers closer. I think a lot of people started moving into District 4, but I don't know how much more room there is up there. There's room, but yeah, I would go along with moving that one precinct.
Just a point of data to go with what you were saying. Precinct 5.
I got you doing it.
I did. Precinct 5 is the second smallest of the 18 precincts. It's only got 1,049. There's only one smaller.
And that's because that is in fact a very heavily commercialized district, or commercial district, or precinct rather.
I got everything.
No problem.
I will say you can go to rationalize, which very good at rationalizations. The population deficit in District 4 by kind of saying, but you can rationalize it by saying Albright is a temporary population, but for a large part of the year. So certainly, I would think those numbers actually get close. And really what your council person and what the city decides affects those students just not quite as much, but quite a bit, just like it does residents. And, so certainly that temporary population certainly bumps up the issues, I would think, that representative in District 4 has to deal with.
It's the same thing for Alvernia. That's the same for Alvernia.
Well, Alvernia is District 1. You are correct. Yeah.
So is that, when that's moving, is that going to boost?
No, it doesn't change anything. Well, yes, I know what you're saying though. In essence, if you think about temporary population, you would also have to understand that temporary population. That's a very good point. Very good point. Which I guess actually Alberta has a larger campus population than Alberta.
Yeah.
If we move 5-1, is College Town in 5-1 or 4?
5-1.
That is in 5-1.
No, it's
6-1 or
7-1.
4.
District
10.
6, one of the precincts in District 6.
Yeah.
I think it's at 7-1.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it is 7-1.
It's right on the corner. They walk across the street and answer their census questions on the other side of Penn Street.
Right.
We're located in College Town here on 4th and Penn. If that helps anyone.
Right. And
6-1.
they do have students housed there right now, correct?
Yes, they do.
Okay,
Not many, but there are some students here that reside here. Yeah.
that's what I thought.
And the number will increase. And they're going to be taking, Alberta will be taking over the first. And that will also be.
Is that still going to be their international students?
Yes.
Okay.
Legend national.
Their presentation, what they gave us, what they gave us over here in order to stories. So, yeah, we had to set aside the zoning hearing board, get the numbers straight.
Okay.
Because they've been working on it about 14 months. And Lee did the original work a long time. He's not involved with it now, but he mentioned see that he did a little bit of work for Alberta on that project a long time. So it's been an ongoing.
Okay. Yeah, Pam, what are your thoughts?
I'm inclined to go with Bella
Okay,
on this one change. I also think that if we really want to get serious about changing precincts and numbers and people and giving all this up, I think in the next 10 years, if they could get a group of people together to go over all that, to, like you're saying, you would like to see some other changes from other precincts. And maybe till the next census, we can do this one, but till the next census comes and they can see those numbers versus this. And maybe work on that in the next 10 years to get all that modified and be able to.
It'll be the next commission's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just someone to get together and really want to do that.
that'll be an exercise for the city planning commission staff.
Oh,
I'm being hopeful.
sorry. Sorry, but that's my opinion.
No, that's a great idea. Well, folks on the computer, we'll go with the ladies first. Norma, you feeling better? You're muted.
Muted.
Hi, I'm feeling better. Sorry, I was down for 4 weeks. COVID got me. What is the question?
Just going around, getting everybody's individual thoughts on the two proposals that we have. So far.
I was really thinking about how the census was taken during the height of the pandemic. I was just wondering if that affected any numbers as far as the colleges being involved.
What I can tell you is the students who live on campus,
Mhm.
colleges worked with the Census Bureau to include them.
To include them, okay, because I know a lot of students were sent home during the height of the pandemic, during when the census was taken. So that just stood on my mind on how that affects the population of the districts, such as the ones with Albright and Alvernia where they have dorms.
Right, no, nationwide, the Census Bureau did work with colleges and universities to make sure that they could count all the students. They at least got those who lived on campus or in college housing. Where we found problems was at a place like Kutztown University. The dorm students were all counted, but most of those who live off campus were not.
Okay.
So where does that leave us? We know with Albright, the vast majority of the students live on campus. So for the most part, they were covered. For Alvernia, a good number of those students live on campus. So for the most part, they were covered. Obviously, RAC is all commuter students, and the other two colleges and Berks are outside the area.
Okay.
So for the most part, I believe we got the college students that are here in the city.
Okay.
I'm not sure what percentage of Alvernia's students are off campus and whether they were missed or not, but I know they all worked with the Bureau to get their on-campus students counted.
All right, that was just basically my thoughts this past few weeks, from the last meeting that I happened to attend. And I'm actually catching up. I missed 4 weeks out of the office. You know, I work at RAC. So I've been trying to catch up in these past 3 days. I just returned Monday. So I've been reading while you guys are talking, trying to catch up on the last meeting.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, if you want to catch up a little more, we'll go to Redistricting and get her thoughts.
Okay.
Hello. So I think where we left off last meeting were between the two decisions, whether we were going to make no change, and the other one, we were going with option.
It was a combination of an option B, option A, which were both actually the same thing. We were going to one precinct. That one precinct south of 10.
Right.
And so far right now, everybody, at least around the table here, is agreeing with that.
Yeah, and my decision would be to agree with that as well. If we're not going to go with no change, then I don't foresee any issues with changing that one precinct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Olson.
Well, I look at my two maps of Bellman option A and Kell option B. In both of them, districts 5 and 2 stay the same. So we're talking about the north-south corridor of the city with Fifth Street as a divider. And I see more change in the 4 and 3 with Kell I'm sorry, with 4 and 3 with Bellman as opposed to Kell, and 6 changes more with Kell. At the end of the day, I think we should make change. I'm looking at these a little more. I'd like to know a little bit more why on the option A, District 3 starts to creep north along Fifth Street into what was District 4, reducing District 4 in one hand, but then bringing it closer to the city core in the southern section. I know that she wants to, get these as close to being neighborhood identified as this is where I live. I live in this district. I live in this neighborhood. It's so close. I mean, I don't think either one of these two is a bad decision. I just think that those of you that represent the districts who have a closer feel and a feel on the pulse, looking at 6-1 and 3-4 and the changes, how does that impact you as a citizen? What do you guys think and gals think? Right now I could take a coin and flip it, and it could either be option B or option A. I see no real driving force to pick one over the other. I think they're both. There's no ideal situation, but I'm trying to find a hard differentiator between the two.
I agree, Lee.
So was Lee, were you talking about an option that changes 3 and 4, districts 3 and 4? Because we've narrowed it down to options that don't touch those. So I'm not sure you're looking at the same ones we're looking at.
Probably not, because the one that I got didn't have an option printed on the top. I'm probably not looking at the same thing, what I printed out. Quite honestly, I think we have vetted this very well. I think if we make a decision not to change anything, because the numbers from day one were so close that they were within 0.5%, there were no major swings one way or the other, just some natural migration for whatever reason. And quite honestly, if you said, would you vote for keeping it as is? I would say yes.
Okay, thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
He held a good point. I would say I agree with keeping it as it is as well.
Okay, so let me take a straw poll then at this point and just get a final feeling on where we stand right now. And I'm just going to go down my list. This is in no particular order. Warren.
What are the options? Let's just make sure we've identified what it is we're talking about.
I apologize. Thank you. Lori said, what are the options that we're going with? Right now, we're still at our original 2 options that we left with last month. Your proposal and Brian's proposal, which would be moving precinct 5-1. From District 6 to District 1. The second proposal would be to do nothing. Those are where we're at right now. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to go down the list. Straw poll. Warren.
I agree that we should change.
Okay, Lori's up for moving 5-1. Okay, Brian.
I would agree with that also.
You would change. You would make the change. Wayne.
I would go ahead with moving it 5-1.
You would make the change. Radara. I'm going down these all the way my list is.
I will go back to my original thought, which is no change.
No change. Okay? Tom,
I would go with making the change.
make the change. Lee,
I would make the change.
you would make the change.
Yes.
Okay. Pam,
Make the change.
make the change. And Norma,
5-1, that's that little area that you guys were talking about before. And that
Yes.
will go, and we're talking about moving that district from District 6 to 5 or 6 to 1?
6 to 1, correct.
6 to 1?
Yes.
I agree with it.
Yep.
I agree with it, 6 to 1.
Okay, based on that poll, 8 people here. We have 7 who say make a change and one who would like to keep the way they are. Do we want to have any further discussion?
I mean, honestly, I could vote either way. I don't necessarily disagree with the change, so.
Okay. Do we want to put that in the form of a formal motion to council? Are we ready to do that? We're ready to present this to council.
All right. I'll move that we decide to make a motion to council with that change.
Okay,
I'll second it.
second, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sweet. All right. Thank you all. That was, no, I'm not done, don't worry. Don't worry. Now, there's still some other things we need to do yet. Number one, when we started the meeting, I just started flapping my gums. Did everybody get a chance to read Linda's minutes from the last meeting? Were there any changes or corrections or additions that needed to be made? All right, we can consider those approved as submitted then?
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Next thing we need to do is figure out, at this point, once they are presented to council, their council will hold a public hearing. I'm gonna go on you, Linda. How should we make this present or proposal to council? Do we just write this out, send them an email, or send an email to you? Does somebody need to be at the meeting to make a formal presentation?
Someone should be at the public hearing to make a formal presentation.
Okay,
I would suggest sending the recommendation in writing via email.
okay,
Like you could just do a memo from the commission. I could send you a city memo form.
okay,
And I think I would attach Brian's list.
I would attach this,
Yes,
in the PDF version.
which I have.
which I have,
Right.
Yeah.
okay,
And with the map.
And
Yeah.
the map that you just had done.
Okay.
That looks better than anything I did.
I would probably, for comparison, do the one with the change and the current.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
for comparison.
All right, what I will do then is I'll actually put that together. Since I have all those materials, I'll put that together. I'll come up with a memo. Do you folks want to read that memo before I send it to Linda, or do you just want to trust me to get it to her? And
I wouldn't mind seeing it if it's gonna be representing us as.
Okay. Well, then what I will do is I'll get that together. I'll forward it to everybody. And what I will ask is, Linda, when do you need it? I mean, supposedly this has to go to the council at their next regular business meeting, which will be this Monday.
Well, you're not going to make it because I need to close the agenda out by tomorrow at 10.
Okay,
So the next would be, just let me pull my calendar up.
the end of the month.
Yeah, be the Wednesday before the 28th,
Okay,
which is the 22nd?
the Wednesday before. the
23rd.
28th, It'll be the 23rd, yeah. Okay, what I would ask is, I'll put it together, I'll get it out to everybody. If you could have me, any comments that you would have by the 16th, that'll give us, a couple days and a full weekend That way I can then forward to Linda and we'll get the ball rolling with council.
And I think I have a tentative date for the public hearing too. Just let me pull open my stuff here.
Is everybody viewing this screen now?
Do we as a committee need to be here, all of us? Is that necessary or is,
Somebody should, at the council meeting,
well, at any of it?
at the public hearing, we should have some representation there, yes. Now, I'm guessing is that gonna be a virtual meeting or is that in person?
At this point, at this point, it's going to be either completely virtual or it'll be hybrid, meaning council will be in the room and all other attendees will be virtual.
Okay. I don't know if you folks can see this on your screens. Linda's just looking at her tentative calendar.
Yeah, I have it tentatively scheduled for March 21st,
Okay.
and that would be at 5.
Oh, March 21st.
Yeah, March 21st.
Oh, my mother's birthday.
And that's for the public hearing.
Correct.
Correct. Did you folks at home hear that?
Yeah, March 21st is the city council meeting.
But that would actually be the public hearing on this
Oh.
proposal. As a whole.
You said that's at 5.
Correct.
And you do not need to be physically present for that. We would be in a hybrid format, so we'd all be on the computer. Council would be in person.
Okay.
January, February. So yeah, the next council meeting is 21st. Or the
The next council meeting is the February 28th.
28th, okay.
Right.
Well, you close the agenda out on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
23rd?
Right.
Okay.
And then somebody presents that to council at that meeting or not?
Or they just have it on the agenda.
Yeah, they just have to get the recommendation.
Okay. All right, but you don't need anybody to make a formal presentation to council.
No, I would do that at the public hearing.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so it just goes up front of council. Council doesn't take any action until after the public hearing. Correct. And then that's okay. Right. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
So is this where we annoy Lori?
It's not like we need to annoy anybody. My personal recommendation would be, since this would be a hybrid type of public hearing, I would encourage all members to be there. Certainly, myself or Brian, since we seem to be the people that came up with this, could quickly present something. But I think if you have the time, it would be nice to have anybody there in case they have any questions, publicly or from council itself.
It would also look good to the public and any public that showed up to see people from each of the districts present.
Right.
So that they all feel that they have some representation in the process.
That's why I asked.
Speaking of, I know we lost a member of this group. Did we ever, was it District 1? Hector, did we ever speak to someone regarding somewhat reputation from District 1?
Former Councilwoman Lucine Sahelnick reached out to him. He agreed to do it. After the first or second meeting, I said something to Lucine about him not attending. In fact, I recall first, he told you he wanted to attend virtually,
Correct.
which is doable, but he didn't do that.
No.
So Lucine tried to reach out to him again, but was not able to make contact.
Okay.
No? Brianna Tyson. She what?
Yeah. I mean, I don't watch. so
Yeah.
I'm just- Okay.
Okay, so, to recap, we do have a proposal that we're gonna send to council. I will put that together in the form of a memo with all the required background information. I will get that to all of you, so please look it over, get me your thoughts and your comments before I formalize that, at which point I will get that to Linda. She will forward it to council and get it on their agenda for Monday, the 28th. After which council will schedule the public hearing for March 21st at 5 o'clock. Both of those meetings will be hybrid, so we will not have to show up physically anywhere, just being in front of our computer. And then I believe we're good to go. Now, I'm just throwing this out there. If you don't feel comfortable presenting to council, I did do that. That's not an issue, but
Certainly, I have no problem. I'm sure Brian doesn't either. I think with emails, we can decide, by that time, if it's, if somebody should actually do a presentation or not. Is that okay? Is that agreeable? Is that agreeable?
Okay.
I feel like I tend to over prepare for certain things and probably don't need to do that for this. So maybe we just kind of have a rough idea of who will do what, but those public hearings, they seem to go pretty quickly.
Yeah, I wonder how many people of the public will actually come or virtually come to this public hearing, unless somebody has a real gripe, which only 1,000 people changing, and how engaged are those 1,000 people out of all the
Well,
100,000 people in the city?
I would,
well, 10 years ago, there was one person who came out at the public hearing who we had never heard from in the past, and that individual showed up and raised some concerns more about the process than anything else. And we moved on.
well, and to Rada's point, it would be nice that if we would have had some District 1 representation. And so I would rely on that current council person to give any kind of concerns, because we are changing District 1. So it would be nice to have some feedback from District 1.
And probably from District 6. Well, we have feedback in the commission from District 6 to the commission, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, District 1 is being changed with no live person involved.
Just for giggles, I'd like to ask, for those of you who were appointed by a council member, have you actually been keeping in touch with that member, letting them know of our deliberations?
Well, to tell you the truth, they wouldn't want to know.
Okay,
They want to stay completely detached.
all right, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I haven't been in communication with Johanny at all.
Okay. Okay.
Marcia
And,
is
you know,
my
we'll-
neighbor. Marcia is my neighbor, and we did spend the holidays together, but we did not discuss this at all.
Yeah, and I probably talked to Marcia more than any other, more than my own. And I haven't spoken with her about it either. Very briefly, I just mentioned something early on in the process, but.
And the only thing that I've said is that I think you're all doing a great job.
Oh, thank you, Linda. We'll see that there's a fresh pot of coffee for you tomorrow morning.
I just want to say it was an honor to sit with you guys and understand I am only 6 years here in Reading. I work at Reading Area Community College, so every district involves me as a member of the community, and I'm involved in community education, and I see members of the community every day, and I work with them, and I really became a proud citizen of Reading, and thank you guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
We need
thank
you.
Thank you, thank you.
I
I love Reading. I have become a proud citizen of Reading and love to work with the community in Reading.
Good.
I moved in from the suburbs 30 years ago, and I have to say, I have very few complaints. So, if I may, as a staff person, you all have been a great help to me. You've been responsive, You took it on yourselves and you really tried to come up with a bunch of options. And I would just like to thank all of you for your time, for being at meetings, for communicating between meetings, for actually coming up with some options, and for having some good, thoughtful deliberations. It was more than just a mathematical exercise. You really put your hearts into it, and I really appreciate that. So for me, thank you all.
You're quite welcome.
You're welcome.
And I
Thank you.
Linda has kept us legal. She's taken great notes, saved me from a bunch of anguish. So Linda, thank you.
My pleasure.
And Mike, thank you for really doing all the legwork to make
Yeah.
this all happen. We appreciate that.
Yes, as far
Everybody working on this.
and as far as the staff goes, this is the most support I've had from any type of public thing and volunteer thing I've ever been involved with. So you've both been really, really efficient and very, you came up with great things that we've asked you to do. And so it's been really a wonderful experience.
I wanted to make your job as easy as I could, but make sure you had all the information that you needed to do that job.
I would like to offer to, after the public hearing or our presentation as a team to city council, I will buy the first round of desserts and coffee at the DoubleTree.
Oh, I'll hold you to that, Lee.
Okay, I
Yes.
will do that. I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of my word.
I look forward to
Time
that.
Time and date.
Okay, you've all been wonderful to work with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you again, everybody. Do we have anything further to discuss? All right, I think we can formally adjourn and wrap this up for another 10 years.
I'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the commission.
Yeah. You can be a commissioner instead of staff. Yeah, and hopefully in 10 years, I will be that. But this is my second one. Oh, boy.
This was my second one helping out, but this was also my fourth decennial census. So next time around will be my fifth. My goal is to retire in 2030. We'll see how that works out.
I'm looking forward to it.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you again, everybody.
Bye. Have a good night.
So.